Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. On Monday, the monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor, Mayor Rudy Wright was in and we were talking about the proposed bond referendum. And as we were talking about that, he got a call on the air from one of our guests this morning, Eddie Ide, regarding certain portions of the bond referendum, which is going to be Part 1764. Now, I was not familiar with this at all as part of a proposed business industrial. We'll find out more about that this morning. Park. But then Mr. Ide had mentioned that there was a protest meeting coming up that was going to be at a school in the area, which I understand was very well attended. Had to move, according to published reports, from the media room into the cafeteria. A lot of folks very involved with this. And Mr. Ide called up and said, look, we'd really like to let people know what's going on from our side, and we'd like to do that. Could we get a little airtime? And that sounded good to us, because we always want to hear all sides of the story, want to hear what's going on in our community, so we can have a more well-informed electorate, and they can go out and take a look, and people who are going to vote on this, or going to take a look at this and become involved in this, have the full picture and the whole story. Just like we did on Monday, we had the phone lines open this morning. If you'd like to comment, or if you have questions, 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Joining us in the studio this morning, Eddie Ide. He is a part of the Concerned Startown residents. He is a Concerned Startown resident. Good to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here.
Appreciate it. Also joining us this morning is Deborah. I want to make sure I get the pronunciation right. Strother?
Strother.
Strother. I knew I was going to miss it. I had a 50-50 shot and missed it. Strother. Nice to see you this morning.
Thank you for having
She is a resident, a homeowner, a Concerned Startown resident. Also joining us this morning, Mr. Glenn Barger. He is a Concerned Startown resident, part of this grassroots movement. He's a retired. He's a former Catawba County Commissioner and also a Superintendent of Education for Catawba County Schools. Nice to see you this morning, sir.
Great to see you again, Hal.
Let's talk first of all about why we're here. Help me with the big picture on this as far as how this fits into the bond referendum, the proposed industrial or business park, what that means, and then as we go through the morning, we'll find out more about how it affects and impacts the Startown area.
Great, Hal. And so first of all, we want to appreciate you giving us some time this morning to come join you.
Oh, great.
You already are considered an extremely important voice for the residents of Catawba County, and we appreciate what you do. First of all, let me say we are not opposed to economic development. We're not opposed to a business park. What we are very concerned about is having that business park located in the Startown community in a pretty high, dense residential area. Now
let's go back for just a minute, because I want to go back to the part here that we were talking about with the referendum. We're talking about a bond referendum, and there'll be a certain issuance of bonds and money coming for the city of Hickory. And part of what the city of Hickory's plan is to be an investor in a proposed or a spec business park. Is that correct? That's kind of how
that's my understanding.
Okay. And then there also the county will be investing in this as well. Is
that's
that
true.
Correct? Okay. So this is kind of where it starts. And do we have other municipalities in the Catawba County area? Are there other folks who are involved in this? Or are we basically talking about Catawba County and the city of Hickory? And Eddie, just jump right in here anytime you want to.
Well, this up until Monday, we were informed that this was basically a county venture. But on the radio, when I heard you on Monday, the mayor told me that it's a 50-50 venture with the city of Hickory.
Okay.
Now that means that instead of just having the interest of the Startown community in the 3 voting districts that are directly affected, this is going to affect also the city of Hickory and that bond referendum. There's, as I understand it from looking at their website, there are $2 million in the bond referendum that will be geared to Park 1764.
Okay, see, I want to kind of get everybody kind of on the same page, because we don't want to assume prior knowledge. We don't want to assume that someone out there listening knows everything that we in the studio know. And I've done just a little, very limited research on this, but I want everybody to kind of understand, because as of right now, the Startown area is not the city of Hickory. That's Catawba County, right? So this does involve the city.
It does.
Okay.
I think the plan is, as this park is developed, then those parcels will be annexed by the city of Hickory. That's the plan.
Okay. So when I understand annexation, the way that it is, that means that the city of Hickoryville would be responsible for infrastructure, for fire, for police, for that particular area of Catawba County. And taxes. Okay.
That's correct. And of course, as Eddie mentioned to you, as far as the voters of Hickory are concerned, they should have a real interest in this, because a certain portion of that bond that they're going to vote on in November has already been stated publicly that that's going to go for infrastructure into the 1764 park.
Okay. So that's where we stand with the 1764 park.
That's correct.
So I wanted everybody to kind of understand this. Now, you stated that you're not against you love the idea for the park. Park looks great, but you have a problem with where it may be located.
I certainly do, and for several reasons.
Okay.
First of all, as the Board of Commissioners adopted small area plans for each community, which included a lot of representation in each community of how they wanted their community to look.
Okay.
Startown community was no different. There was a lot of active participation, not only among those on the steering committee to do that, but also the residents. Many public meetings were held to get the community input of how they wanted the Startown community to develop.
Okay.
They identified business and industrial nodules in that business plan. This area was never identified that. In fact, it's identified as residential agriculture, even in that nodule.
Okay.
There were a number of business areas that were identified, and to date, not all of those are filled. So if they were wanting to put it in the Startown small area plan, there were other places they could have placed that, not in residential areas, and it would have been more compatible with the community. This one does not fit that.
So when we come back, we'll talk more about that aspect of Park 1764, and we'll talk with Deborah, hold on a second, Strother, got it right. Wanted to make sure. I had to stop and think, but names are important, so I wanted to get it right. Resident homeowner, concerned Startown resident, Eddie Ide as well. Glenn Barger will be back with more First Talk right after this commercial break. You're listening to First Talk with Hal Rowe, broadcast live Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. on 1290 WHKY AM, talk radio for the Greater Hickory Metro, and also streaming live at WHKY.com. The program you're presently enjoying was digitally captured this past Wednesday morning. Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Deborah Strother. Want to make sure I had that right. Very good. She is a resident homeowner in the Startown area. Concerned Startown resident is the Concerned Startown residents, the name of the grassroots movement. Eddie Ide joins us this morning, as well as Glenn Barger. Our phone lines are open, 327 WHKY, 327-9459. We're talking about the proposed business park 1764. Okay, Mr. Barger, when we went to the break, we were talking about some of the reasons that there were concerns in the area for the business park being located where it is. And you want people to know that this will affect the taxpayers and the city of Hickory, because this is part of the bond referendum?
Yes, sir. As it's been stated that part of the bond referendum that the citizens of Hickory will be voting on in November, some of that money is now dedicated toward the 1764 business park to place infrastructure in there and other improvements that they would make to the acreage, which right now is not in the city of Hickory. It is to be annexed as it's developed, as I understand it.
Well, that was one of the concerns that you brought up initially. So let's talk with Ms. Strother for just a second. Resident homeowner. I'm going to write that down phonetically so I get it right. Nice to have you with us this morning.
I appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about you. First of all, have you been in the Startown area for a while?
I've lived there a long time, since 97.
Since 97. Now, are you originally from the area?
I'm from the St. Stephen's area.
St. Stephen's area. And you moved to the Startown area because that's the type of area you wanted to live in. You were telling us during the break. If you wanted to live in the city, you'd lived in the city. You decided you wanted to move to the country.
I wanted to live in the country. I wanted to live in a scenic, beautiful part of the county, and this is the heartland, in my opinion, of Catawba County.
Now, you're kind of a voice and a leader in this. This is one of the things that, as far as the grassroots movement, because you're a little bit more familiar with what's going on. Let's hear your take on what's happening with the Startown community, and why you're a concerned Startown resident. Tell us a little bit about your take on this.
Well, about 3 weeks ago, I was blindsided with a little yellow sign stuck in the weeds off of Startown Road, and it said rezoning. I pulled my van off beside the cornfield, and I took a picture of it. And I started making some calls. I called Chris Timberlake at the Catawba County Planning Department, and I called Scott Millar at the Economic Development Corporation. And I started getting some answers to questions, but the more answers I got, the more questions I had. And the more I realized the people in the community had no idea this was happening. This has come to us in the dark of night, in the 12th hour. They've been working on this since 2011, and we're just now finding out about it. They are wanting to build an industrial park in our back door, and I say industrial park. They're pitching it as a business park, and when you hear that, you think this is going to be office buildings, a beautiful office building, when in fact they are going to allow light manufacturing, and that can include manufacturers that operate 24/7. You've got to take into consideration noise pollution, air pollution, the traffic that it's going to incur on Startown Road. And I have 3 children that get on and off of the bus on that road, and there are many, many other children standing on the road in the wee hours of the morning in the middle of winter. This is a huge concern for us. Our road, I've read different things. Last night I read on the internet that we were 85% capacity. However, it was pitched in the hearing on June 30th that we were at 73% capacity.
Help me with capacity. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Maybe Mr. Barger could explain that better than I can.
Okay.
Well, traffic counts are done periodically on some of the major thoroughfares.
Okay.
Now, and
Traffic capacity. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what you
so how many cars you have coming up and down the road? You don't want to be over 100% capacity because you got traffic backups and so forth. Okay. So I understand now. Traffic count. Okay.
Which leads to another concern. They're talking about widening Startown Road to a 5-lane, and it all hinges around the growth of this particular community. I emphasize community. We are a community. We are not an industrial area. We're not a commercial area. This is a community.
Now, what would you like to see? What's the best result for you? You don't want it there, right?
I don't want to see an industrial park there. I think that we need to utilize the tax dollars we've already spent and focus on the other 13 sites that this county has already zoned as industrial use. Some of them have infrastructure, gas, water, sewer, and we've already invested money in those, and they're not developed. The 321 corridor, for instance, wasn't that the purpose of building the 321? To take traffic off of Startown Road and to build industry down there? But if you talk to the Economic Development Corporation, it has to be here, according to them. It has to be here because they want the 20 to 40-year-olds to be close to amenities. They want them to be close to hotels, close to amenities so they can go grab a nice bite of lunch, somewhere quick to eat. But I ask, what's more important, a nice place to go grab a bite to eat or a nice place to live? Which is more important?
Now, help me with this. You say this kind of came to you in the 12th hour. What is happening now with the Catawba County Commissioners, with the City of Hickory, that's going on? Because I know you all want to be able to garner support, rally some folks around this and say, stop, wait a minute, let's take a look at really what's going on. Because I'll be honest with you, this is the first I've heard about it. I look at 1764 on the website. I got to tell you all, just being honest here this morning, I looked at it. It looked pretty good. It looked pretty good, and supposedly there's some protections in there. There's berms. There's a limited view. Tell me about this. A little bit about the actual park and the way that you'd like to see it proceed.
Well, first of all, Hal, we don't argue that point. It is a well-developed park. It is certainly bermed with a lot of other foliage that will block the view from Startown Road, per se. However, that same blindness is not going to be present on Robinwood Road, which is also fronts as well.
Right.
And I know the residents there are very concerned about not only having to look at that on a daily basis, but also as people pass up and down the view that they're going to see as well in there.
From what I understand now, this is a rumor. I don't remember where I heard it, but there's going to have to be a great deal of clearing of trees that are presently on the property.
There is some wooded land that's there, but a lot of it is now pasture land, so
okay.
A lot of it is certainly open. The land itself, Hal, has a gas line that runs through the property, and that gives some limited access as far as the developer is concerned with that. And again, the plant has done a good job working around those right-of-ways that exist in there and keeping it to the design of that, certainly, and the people that the EDC had or whoever hired the architectural firm to lay it out, they've done a great job.
But
I don't argue that.
But you want to make sure, if I'm understanding you right, because we talked about this, you want to make sure that everybody has a voice, everybody has their questions answered, and you want to hear from the county commissioners and the folks before this proceeds any further, so that the Startown residents' voices are heard, people can understand this, and so that people are informed about what's going on with this park prior to moving ahead. Is that correct?
That is correct, Hal. And of course, the hearing for this for the commissioners is this coming Monday night.
Well, I know that we only asked you for a half an hour, but we got some other things I want to cover. So if y'all could give me another 15 minutes, maybe this morning.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that everything gets out there and that everybody understands exactly what's happening. Our guest this morning, Deborah Strother. She is a resident homeowner, a concerned Startown resident, as well as Glenn Barger. Eddie Ide joins us this morning. More First Talk after the break.
WHKY, Hickory, North Carolina.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. We're talking about the proposed industrial business park 1764 that's going as of right now is a county property. There's a proposed business park coming into the area. According to our guests this morning, Deborah Strother and Glenn Barger, Eddie Ide, this is something that has come up very recently as far as the residents of the area goes. There'll be one Catawba County Commissioners meeting that will regard the rezoning of the area. A lot of the residents did not know what was going on in the area. Still, I was just informed during the break that a lot of the people who attended this meeting this past week were not aware of this at all. So this is one of the things I think that is upsetting and I don't mean to be speaking for anybody here, but we talked during the break. It's like, whoa, if we're not going to stop this, let's at least slow this down. Let's make sure that we have the protections and we have everything in place that we need if we're not going to move to one of these other areas that are open, that are residential, that are already zoned for industry. If we're not going to move there, let's at least wait. Let's slow down. Let's make sure all the citizens are informed and all the questions are answered. Do I have that about right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure that we were. Now, we got a caller on the line this morning. I believe it's Margie. Is that right?
Margie.
Margie. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning, and thank you for having us on this morning.
You're more than welcome.
I was just going to make the comment that if everything did go through, from the way that all of us were understanding it, that there will be 100,000 square foot building that will be put onto that site, kind of as a spec building.
Okay.
And of course, they don't have anyone to fill that building, so that building will then be essentially empty.
Okay.
And it's 100 feet back off of Startown Road, right in an area where I don't think anyone will be looking, and I feel that it's a really dangerous area for crime.
Okay.
And for other illicit activities that we just don't want to see in our neighborhood.
Gotcha. So you are one of the concerned Startown residents?
I am. I'm one of the concerned Startown residents. I teach at Startown Elementary School.
Okay.
I've been there 17 years.
Gotcha.
I want our children safe. I have children in this community. I have 4 children. All 4 have gone to Startown Elementary School, 2 of which one's graduated out of high school now, one of them is in high school. But I'm terrified that as this goes forward, that it's going to be dangerous for the children to not only pull out onto Startown Road and all the children that are going on buses, but the kids that are driving.
Gotcha.
And headed towards the high school in the morning. You know, we're zoned to Maiden High School. That's an 11-mile commute on a good day.
Gotcha.
And Startown Road can be very dangerous. And I'm not sure that the North Carolina Department of Transportation will have the money to take care of any of the traffic issues that are already in place on Startown Road and even up through Settlemire Bridge Road.
Very good. Well, Margie, do you have any further comments for us this morning? But before we let you go.
I will tell you that I actually have a copy of our petition.
Right.
If anybody would like to come and sign it,
There
they
you
can
go.
actually do that at Sarah Ann's Cupboard in Conover, where I work.
Okay.
I have a second job as well as being a teacher. So it's Sarah Ann's Cupboard in Conover. It's across from Bowman Drug. And if anybody would like to come sign it, we're open at 10 a.m. today.
Okay, very good. And again, give us that location one more time, please.
It is in downtown Conover. It's 127 First Avenue.
Okay.
It's right across from Bowman Drug in downtown Conover, right next to Pamela's Resale Shop.
Okay, and your name again, they need to ask for?
Margie Butterfield.
Margie. Okay, Margie, thanks so much for calling in this morning. We really do appreciate it.
Well, you're quite welcome.
You take care.
All right.
Bye-bye. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. We've got Judy on the phone this morning who'd like to make a comment on the proposal. Good morning, Judy.
Good morning. I'm a resident also of Startown, and I'm in favor of the park.
Okay.
I'm very disturbed at the misinformation that's out in response to the lady that just called. If you will check the specs of the park, there will be no buildings built until someone purchases part of the parcel and builds that building. There will be no buildings built. Also, this area is a satellite annexation. Does not affect anybody else in the community as far as annexation. There's just so much misinformation out there with the public.
Okay.
And I could go on, but I think that if you would check the specs of the park, what they're saying about and the 5-lane road not happening, it's just not true.
Okay.
So people need to know what the real aspects of the park are, because what's being thrown out there is just not true.
Okay, Judy, hold on just a second, because I think Miss Strother has a question for you.
What is your name, Judy, and what is your relation to the park?
I don't care to say that on.
Are you related to the people selling this property?
Am I related?
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm very concerned about the people in our area. The whole thing is to be able to offer something to bring business, young people into our area. I have a child that would like to work here. There's just nothing here, and this is a real possibility. If you'll read the specs, as I have from the meeting, there's no smokestacks. There's not emission control. It's just totally misinformation. Please read what is actually happening.
Okay, Judy, well, thank you very much. It's a great phone call. Is there anything else before we let you go?
No.
Okay, Judy, thanks for your phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. So this is good. So we have differences of opinion of what's going to be going on in the area, what's going to be happening and not going to be happening. So this is one of the reasons that I think that y'all are here this morning, is you want to talk to the county commissioners and actually find out the facts. Is that correct?
It's correct.
And is Ms. Strother, or I keep doing that, but I want to make sure I get it right. Is that correct with you? This is one of the things that you want to do. You want more time, and you want to make sure that everything is in place, or that you have all the answers that you need. Maybe the best way to put this, you don't feel like you really had your voice heard yet, have you?
I don't think that we have tight enough restrictions on this property. One of the specs says that they can build 70-foot buildings. 70-foot buildings.
70 foot high.
70 feet high.
Right.
Now they are planning to build a berm on Startown Road to disguise this business park, and they're going to landscape it nicely. But they're not doing that on Robinwood Road. Those are our neighbors. How would you like to look at a 70-foot building out your front porch, off of your front porch?
Okay. Mr. Barger, I want to ask you. Some people may say, okay, this was, I bought this land, I bought it in the country, it was zoned one way, now they're rezoning it another way. How do I go about handling this rezoning? What do you do? What recourse do you have as a citizen for the area for rezoning?
Well, first of all, Hal, you've got the opportunity to come Monday night and let your voice be heard before the commissioners before they make a decision of whether or not this property is going to be rezoned or not.
Gotcha. So that's one of the things that they will do at this meeting.
Yes, sir.
It's on the agenda, and you're going to have this opportunity to have it rezoned or not. Or can they delay it?
Certainly, they have that opportunity as well if they see fit that more work needs to be done, and looking at the zoning restrictions that's there to make it more compatible for the community, if that's where it's going to go. They certainly have the opportunity to do that.
Now, you do have to sign in to speak. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you want to speak and be an address, this is not something you can just show up for. You need to show up, sign in, and then be able to address the board. Is that correct?
That's the procedure.
All right, let's go to Jeff. Susie tells me Jeff is for the park calling in this morning. Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for calling First Talk.
Good morning, Hal. This same discussion came up several years ago with Beaumont Elementary School in Hickory, North Carolina, when we were talking about building the Lowe's and all the connecting businesses there on 127, and how much more congested and how much traffic problems we're going to have. And I'm telling you, ever since that's been built, it's beautified that community. It has slowed traffic down, if anything, because everybody's got to go slower to go into the businesses. And really, the traffic issue is nothing.
Okay.
I've had my children go to school there and take them there, and there is no more traffic problems than there were before Lowe's came.
Okay. Jeff, great phone call. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
You take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Let me ask you all that aspect. Because how about the people who are saying, yeah, we want business to come to the area, and we want a business park? Tell me a little bit about that.
We do want businesses to come to the area, but there are 13 different sites. Eddie needs to explain this to you. There are 13 different locations.
Okay.
They've got a good idea, but they've got the wrong place. And to the last gentleman's point,
right?
Children do not get on and off the bus on that road. They do get on and off the bus on Startown Road.
And Robinwood Road.
And Robinwood Road.
Very good. Hold on just one moment. We'll be back with more First Talk right after the break. I know I said 15 minutes. Can you give me another 15? Mm-hmm. We got a caller on the line. We want to explain this part of it as well before we wrap up this morning. More First Talk after the break. Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Deborah Strother joins us this morning, resident homeowner, concerned Startown resident. Glenn Barger, retired, living in the area, concerned Startown resident as well. Former superintendent of education for Catawba County Schools, former Catawba County Commissioner. Eddie Ide joins us as well this morning, concerned Startown resident. Joining us on the phone this morning is Lewis. And Lewis, we thank you for calling in from work. Susie tells me that you are against the park.
Yes, sir, I am.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's because one of the reasons is it's been railroaded through the community, and plus the community lost their representation from William Lutz because he is related to the property owner.
Okay, now help me with that. I don't understand that connection real quickly.
William Lutz is a member of the planning board committee, which represents the Startown community.
Okay.
That's Rusty Lutz.
He dismissed himself at the meeting because he is related to the people who are trying to sell this property.
He is. He's over
actually lost their representation to actually fight against this on the planning board when it got voted on.
Something we weren't aware of. Lewis, is there anything else that you'd like to bring up this morning before we let you go?
Well, I would like to say to the lady that just called in, Judy, that she had the opportunity to come out Monday to Startown Elementary School and voice her opinion, which no representation from the EDC or the Board of Commissioners or anybody showed up at the meeting to talk to us about it.
Okay. So you're looking for more representation in this, is that right, Lewis?
Excuse me, sir?
You're looking for more representation, right?
Yes, we need better representation in the Startown community for sure.
Very good. Lewis, thank you so much for your phone call. We sure do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Before we went to the break, Eddie Ide, you said that we wanted to talk about the locations, because I'd asked Ms. Strother about this, about the other locations that are available, and that's something that you wanted to talk about.
Well, we've got a list of over 13 locations plus additional buildings. Now, there's a lot of empty buildings around the county, and people are aware of that. There's been a lot of talk about those buildings, and even if some of those buildings come down, the infrastructure is still in place for the utilities and the sewer and the water. They don't have to reinstall it. But the contention of the Economic Development Council is that this park has to be near services to be able to accommodate high-tech people. My contention is that if people have a job, it's secondary where they're working. I mean, there's people living here that work in Charlotte, they work in Maiden, they work in Gastonia, and they drive every day, and they don't complain about it because they've got a good job. We've got empty spaces in empty industrial parks in the county that are not being utilized, that are not being sold, and the contention that they have to have all these services, I think, is a fallacy. I drive 10 miles for lunch sometimes with some of my customers, and we have no problems getting to and from because of the 321 business route, because of the 321, and because even Startown Road, because you can drive that. That's our contention, and this is one of my oppositions to this business park in this location. Good park, good idea, wrong location, and wrong economic times to go with it.
Gotcha. All right, thank you very much. Before we wrap up, because I want to give both of you all kind of the last word, and Ms. Strother, if you would, something that you want people to know before we wrap up this morning regarding this whole process, the everything from the part that goes from the city of Hickory to the proposed annexation to the rezoning of the property, your feelings on that, and things that you want people, or something that you'd like to leave people with to let them know this morning before we wrap up.
Well, I've imposed the question, how many jobs will this create for the existing Catawba County residents of this county? They are trying to bring in people from other areas, other states, other counties to grow this area. But that's not helping the people, the current residents of this county. Right now, 51% of the children in this county are on the free or reduced lunch program. That is a direct result of the family's income or lack thereof. We need to focus our attentions on growing our economy. We need to, this, after all, this is going to be our tax dollars that pay for this.
I just wanted to make sure that you had the last word, that you wanted people to know that that's what you wanted to leave people with today, to let them know that you're interested in this area, and that's what you want to see the focus on.
I do. I want to focus on this area. I do want to see economic growth. We all want to see economic growth.
Right.
But we don't want it to be corroding our neighborhood.
Very good. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're more than welcome. Mr. Barger, you've got the last word this morning.
Thank you, Hal. Again, I would simply like to remind not only the public but also our county commissioners that a lot of work has been done in planning how the county is going to develop. And what's in question here is the Startown community in the small area plan.
Okay.
A lot of citizen participation in developing that plan and how they want it to develop, how they want it to look. This violates certainly that plan, and certainly, as Eddie has mentioned to you, there are other sites that have the infrastructure that certainly could accommodate this beautiful park that's been planned out there. And we would certainly ask the commissioners to not violate the trust of the Startown community in doing that, but to also, if in fact they're determined that it's going to have to be in the 1764 planned park as it's presented, let us have some opportunity to put enough of a buffer, enough of restrictions through zoning that could make it a tolerable place to be.
I've got a card here that Eddie handed me. It says, let your voice be heard. And, well, that'll actually let me give full disclosure here. The top of it says, help stop Park 1764. That's the top part. But it says, let your voice be heard. Public hearing and final vote. Old Courthouse in Newton, Monday, July 21st at 7 o'clock. Come early, sign in to speak. And that's one of the reasons that you all are here this morning, is you want to garner public support to let people know that this is going to be the final vote, to do the research over the next few days, talk to the Economic Development Corporation, talk to the folks who are in the know about this, get the information from the concerned Startown residents, get the information that, as Judy said, any of you all have said this morning, everybody get fully armed and ready, both sides, get the information, and come speak and let people know, let the county commissioners know your feelings and exactly how you feel about proposed Park 1764. Go ahead.
If we can't stop it, we at least want to extend it. We want them to get together with us and hear our concerns and put it in writing before we go forward.
Yeah, this will have a stronger impact on Hickory and on the citizens and the taxpayers of Hickory that has been realized.
We'll go ahead and wrap with our national anthem.